Hey, welcome everybody. So look, today this is going to be one of these. This is a long video, all right? There was no other really way around it, but this is going to be one of those videos that I'm probably going to ask you, like, make sure you know where it is, bookmark it or whatever it is that you can do, because I think you're going to want to refer to this maybe as a reference, until it really clicks in your head. But what we're going to do today is I'm just going to show you how I learned the fretboard. Okay, so it's a little bit long. The most important thing is none of this is going to be done in a day. I mean, you've gone this long. Some of us, like I was playing guitar for years before I ventured into the pool, which I call, the world of notes and riffs and playing leads. So, hey, you've gone this far without knowing your notes on your fretboard per se. So another week or two or month is not going to hurt you. So just remember to keep it slow, bite off little bits as we go along, right? And lastly, you're going to see some tabs pop up, little diagrams, okay? Now those diagrams are drawn to mimic you looking at the fretboard the way you would watch me play, not in the way that they give you the tabs where it's kind of like, I think you understand. So when you see it, it's clearly marked. You're going to be seeing the dots and the notes the way you are looking at me play, which I think for this, what we're doing is probably more appropriate. All right, so here we go. Because look, here's the reality. I wish it was something else. I wish I could say, watch this, do this, look at that, and it will unlock everything for you. You don't have to do any work. Just watch this or just subscribe to that and it'll all be over. You'll know everything there is to know about your fretboard. I wish I could. I've tried everything. Now remember, I'm like you guys out there. I'm on the journey just like you. We may or may not be at a different place in our journey, but we're on the same journey, okay? So when I stood on the edge of the pool, that's what I call it, I'm on the edge of the pool with everybody else, but only the cool kids that can swim are in the pool. And I want to be in the pool, but to get in the pool, I got to learn how to swim, and I can't do that. So we want to play lead guitar. We want to play riffs and make up our own little things and just be cool. But we can't. Something's stopping us, and that's usually the ability to do it. Now, a lot of times we have the knowledge, we know what we got to do, we just don't know how to do it. And a lot of times we know how to do what we need to do, right? We just don't know what to do. Okay. So what I did was, let me see, I wrote out all the notes on a piece of paper with the strings and everything, okay? And I spent a week memorizing all the lines. I did it down ways. And then, whatever. Oh, if you had to put a piece of paper in front of me and stood there with a stopwatch, I would have got an A. I would have known all the notes. Then, when the lights came on and the music started playing and people are watching me, I looked down at my fretboard and I saw nothing. Blank. Gone. All right, so I thought, I need an app. That's what I need. I need an app. So I downloaded this app that was highly touted. And what it was just like in the amusement park, the groundhog comes out of the hole and you got to hit it with a hammer, right? Okay. Little lights came on, little dots popped up, and you had to go, F sharp, D, G, and you only had so many seconds and all that. After a while, I got really darn good at that. The only problem is, we don't play our guitar on a piece of paper. We don't play our guitar using an app. We play it using our fingers, our brain, and our ears, and our eyes, right? That's the problem. So wouldn't it make sense to actually learn and absorb information the way we play the guitar? Like, right? Okay. So the minute I accepted that this just might be true, and there is no magic solution to learning things, you got to put the work in, that's what I decided to do. And I started exactly the way I showed you in the video, the previous videos that we've done on this topic. And that was find out the key, find the first chord in the progression, which is usually the same as the key. So key of C, chord of C will be the first chord. And then take the first note from the first chord, which is C. And play it. There we go. Okay. Easy, right? Okay, great. But we can't really play a lead, a lick, a riff with one note. We need more notes, sometimes as little as 2, but usually 4 to 6 is probably much better. So, what do we know from the little theory that we do know? Is that if that's a C, okay, and I go up 2 frets, that's a D. So now I know that. Now I can play that like this. I could play it like this. I could play it backwards. I can slide into it that way. I can slide into it that way. I can do all kinds of things with those 2 notes. And if I play that over a C key progression or a song in the key of C, hey, all right? But what we've just done now is we've jumped in the pool, but we've jumped into the shallow end. And that's okay. We're in the pool. All right. Now, we're in the shallow end, and we know that these 2 notes are going to sound good with pretty much any C key song or progression. Okay? So now, let's start expanding our repertoire of notes. So we know now, we didn't then, that underneath every C, okay, except for that border thing that we've talked about and we'll mention again, is a note called F. C, F, C, F, all the time, okay? So if our C is here, I don't even have to look, and I know that that is an F. If our C is here, I don't have to look, and I know that's an F. Great. And we know that if we have an F here, and we go up 2 frets from any note, we get the key higher. So the F will be a G. So now I know I got C, D, F, G. Now I got 4 notes to play with in any order and any combination. Now, when you play those 4 notes, it'll still take a while to figure out which sounds the best, but they will start forming little melodies, right? Now, in those 4 notes, there literally are, well, I don't know the number. I'm going to use infinite because I really don't know the number, but there are tons and tons of cool little licks, cool little riffs, cool little phrases, whatever you want to call them, that we can play just using those same 4 notes, right? Now, this is going to take a while. You're going to continue listening to your backing track, and I recommend you use different tracks, all in the key of C, or the key that you're trying to learn or want to learn, or different songs in that key, just to break it up, just to give your brain something to think about. But you're still going to just play those same 4 notes, right? Okay. Now, I've often told you that we can get by. So if there's 7 or 8 people in a room and they're playing something in the key of C, and I sat down or you sat down and just went like this while they were playing, and tried your best to sort of match up with what they're playing. So if they're playing, C, D, G, then what you want to try to do is you're going to play your C, then maybe your D, right? Or your D, and then your G, and you're going to try to come up with a pattern that incorporates as many of those notes that correspond to the chords in your progression. So if it's, again, C, D, G, you want to play as many C, D, and Gs as you can. I might end up either leaving out or not really playing that F note because maybe it just doesn't sound right. Where on the other hand, with a little bit of experience now, the next thing we do eventually could be days, weeks, months. It could be hours from the time that you're comfortable with the 4 notes. Start expanding your repertoire by going out 2 frets. So from the G, 2 frets is an A, right? And once you've played this and know this and put it to your memory, next time you pick up your guitar, you're going to know that this is C, D, F, G and A. Well, great. So now if I know that's a G and an A, right? Let's play it over my chord progression. And then you might find out that the C, D, G, A, skipping the F, might sound better than putting the F in. So your ear will tell you, hey, don't play that F. Instead, when you come along here, go like this. So your pattern now will be like this. I'm just being hypothetical. I'm not saying that's a rule. I'm just saying you have an option now. You have a new note that you've learned. So now I know where C, D, F, G, and A are, right? And again, if I know that this is a G, what's below it? Well, that's a C, because look, everywhere there's a G, there's a C under it, right? So we can go anywhere where there's a G and there's a C, okay? Right? Except for the border, it's going to be 1 over, but again, that's another. But that's the way we start thinking, right? So now, instead of looking down at my fretboard and trying to equate this with an app or a piece of paper that I wrote out with all the strings and the notes on it, what I'm looking at now is, all I see is I know that this is a G, that's an A, that's a C, and that's a D. And that's an F. That's what I see. I don't see the paper. I don't see all the notes. I only see what I know. Okay? Now we found out that under the G is a C. So now we have that CD again. But wait a minute. We got that CD up here. Right? C, D, F, G. And now it's here again, you say. Oh, okay. C, D. So now I can go C, D, F, G, C, D with my chord progression in the key of C, and it'll sound okay. And that's what adding texture and depth and color to your solos is. It's about playing only the 3, 4, 5, 6 notes, but playing them repetitively and playing them in different parts of the fretboard. But to be able to do that, you have to be able to, on the fly, think, okay, where's my next C? Okay, so I happen to know it's right here. So I can play that same lick starting in the next C. Now, there are C's everywhere, but I don't know where they are, so I'm not going to play them. I'm only going to play what I know. Sound right? Okay. So now, my limited knowledge, and my knowledge is limited, will allow me to play in the key of C using C, D, F, G. C, D, C, D. And now I know that that's a D. That's got to be an E. So what does that sound like in the key of C? Well, let's see. And your ear's listening to the chord progression or the song, and it says, your ear says, you know what? It sounds okay. It sounds good. So now the next time I pick up my guitar, right? I know C, D, F, G, A, C, D, E, C, D, E. I know all this now. Now that's a G, so there's my A. So what comes after an A? Well, it's going to be a B. And what's always under an A everywhere we go? Think about it. D. So if that's an A, that's a D. And that's an E. So now I got it. Now, when you have played this 70 times over the course of a night, 2 nights, listening to music of either one track or various tracks in the same key, you'd be surprised how quick, when you look down at that fretboard, you see that, and you can play that. Now, I don't know what these notes are. I don't know what those notes are at this point, and I don't care, because I'm in the key of C, and the notes that I'm playing are sounding mint in the key of C. And if nobody knew me and they just watched me and people were playing in the key of C and I was doing that, the average person would say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Oh, look at her. She's amazing. Look at that. They wouldn't know that you don't know any of the other notes, okay? Temporarily, that is. Because the reality is, if you keep this strategy up, it may take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. But I guarantee you, you will now know where all the notes are. Okay? Now, what do you do with that information? Well, again, in the most basic format, okay, what we're all about here, is what you would do is exactly what I mentioned before, is you would choose the right lick or riff to play that fits what you're listening to. Okay, so in this case, just hypothetically, we're going to say it's this 4-note box right here. Okay, so the first thing that I need to know right now, I'm soloing away, I'm playing along, everything's sounding great, boo, 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 boo. I can't do this for 4 minutes. It's going to get a little redundant. Even if I do it slow and just do that, the odd slide, enough's enough after a while. So what's my next step? It's to find the same 4 notes elsewhere. So now I know, because I know that that's a C. So now I know that I can go C, D, and because of the rule, remember the rule of the border, we got to cross a fret. So I can't just play these 4 notes here. I got to go over. But there's my same riff. C, D, F, G, C, D, F, G. C, D, F, G, C, D, F, G. So now when I look down, I automatically see this. Now we got something we can play with, right? Now we can expand on our sound. We can expand on our little run. We can expand on things. And we always know where we are because we're not breaking our path. We're only playing the notes that we're confident with, that we know. Remember, we're not playing in a professional band. We don't have 8,000 people watching us. That's not the goal here. We just want to play our guitars and sound as good as we can. And right now, this is the best way that we can sound good, is by starting slow and adding to our repertoire. Okay? And that's how I did it, and that's how I'm continuously doing things, right? So I'm continuously adding to my knowledge and my technique and my skill level by doing exactly this. Common sense, right? Realizing that you play with your hands, not a piece of paper or an app, okay? And you have to get in there and figure it out. If I throw you into the pool and you don't know how to swim, there's a darn good chance that you'll figure out what you need to do to get to the side. If you have your guitar in your hand and you know a couple of notes and you're forced into it, there's a darn good chance that you will figure out, even on the fly, where to go and what to play based on the limited knowledge you have of the fretboard. Okay? So don't think you need to know every note to get started playing solos. Of course it will help, but you don't need that. You only need to know what you need to know, and that could be as little as 2 or 4 notes. The rest will happen organically using common sense. That's your brain. That's that part of the guitar foundation, right? And your brain will tell you, okay, Ray, go over 2 more frets, right? Because you're still in the bronze string, so go over 2 frets and you can play that note. It'll sound good. And if that sounds good, you can play the note under it, as long as it's in the brown fret, in the brown strings. If it's in the silver, we got to move over a fret. This is all the stuff that you have to process when you start learning to play leads, riffs, licks, whatever, solos. So look, I know for some of you this is completely mundane, but for those of you on the outside of that pool, wishing you were cool enough to jump in, this is how you do it. Okay? And I've tried it all. And if you have a better way, I want you to send it along. I want to hear it in the comments. If you have a better way to learn that fretboard. Now, look, all of our brains work differently, right? So I wish I was the type that could memorize something on paper, look down like this, right? And be able to put that instantly in my eyes on that fretboard. And then have the motor skills in place to be able to find them instantaneously and play all those notes. I just think that's a very, very hard thing to do, right? And you're better off, take little chunks, slowly but surely, weave your way through the fretboard, learning note by note. And if this is that, this must be that, right? And then you'll find they repeat. So these 4 are the same as those 4, which are the same as those 4, which are the same as these 4. Now, lastly, I want to show you one other thing that helped me to know, right? Now, by all means, this is not something you do in one day, 1 hour, 3 hours. This is something that you're going to do in chunks, as I mentioned earlier. You're going to learn 4 notes, maybe 6, and then it'll expand to 8. And you're going to use that cobweb, that spider web theory. If you know one note, right? One note, then you know 2 frets either way is going to be higher or lower. So if I know that that's a C, 2 frets up is a D. I know that. And 2 frets from there will be an E. And if I go the other way, so if I know that that's a C, and I go back here 2 frets, then I know that that's a B flat. Okay? All right. Now, one thing occurred to me. When you look down at your fretboard at this angle, remember, you're not seeing the piece of paper or the app. You're seeing, this is the way you see your fretboard. So what I see is I've always seen these dots going through the middle of the guitar. And even though it's not so, it looks like it's the 4th string right here. Okay, that's the D string that runs right through the middle of those white dots. So I started to learn, in my case, this note right here, this dot right here, that's a G. It's kind of right in the middle, right, of where I always play. So there's my G on the dot. Even though it's not on the dot when you tilt it properly, but from where I'm looking, it's on the dot. So right away, I know, using the cobweb theory, right, 2 up is an A, 2 back is an F, right? What's always under an F? A B flat. What's always under a G? A C. What's always under an A? A D. Always. So now all of a sudden, just by knowing one note, I can turn that into 5 or 6 notes. Now, not quick enough right now to play along with a backing track, because I'm always going to be thinking, oh, what's that? That's a G, so that's got to be an A. Meanwhile, your song is gone. But that's okay, because we'll just do it again. We'll wait till it comes around again, and we'll do it again, and we'll do it faster. And that's how you're going to remember this stuff, right? So there's another good one, is just that 4th string, remember the dots. F, G, A, B, D, right? Know those, and then you have more starting points. And the more starting points you have, the more you can fill it in with your cobweb. Does that make sense? Okay. To a lesser extent, when you look down the fretboard like this, at this angle, you also see this string here, which is your 3 string, right? Which is your G string. You see that it also has, you can see the dots when you fret that note right there. What's that note? That's a B flat. And I can see the dot. So, okay, so why don't I know those notes? So there's my C and my D. So C I know, there I know that's a D, so that's going to be an E, an F without even looking, and 2 up is a G. Those are handy little things when you're ready, okay? Don't go learning this all at once, because the minute you look down, forget it. In my opinion, you've got to literally play it, see it and hear it in action, and then your memory relates to it and goes, oh yeah, okay, that's a G. So what I did the first time is I just memorized that one dot. That's it, G. Because G is an often used note. And I knew that if I knew that was G, if I got into trouble anywhere, I could just go right here and wait for the chord progression to come around, right? And there's my G, okay? If my chord progression was in C, and I got lost. I knew if I just went here, there's my C on that dot, okay, that I could wait for it to come around. I can start all over again, knowing that that's C, so that must be D, and that must be E. And if C is here, G is here, and A is here. Okay? All right, I hope this helps. Have fun with it, okay? But the most important thing is here is don't take it too fast. This is something that does not happen overnight. Just like when you started playing chords or bar chords or any new technique. You weren't very good at first. You weren't very fast and your notes didn't sound right. Same thing is going to happen here. Give it time, little by little. Don't bite off too much. 3, 4, 5, 6 notes at a time. Put the guitar down. You pick it up again tomorrow, right? Now you know that 4 notes and you go accordingly. All right. I hope it helps. And I have another theory-only video coming. And I think you'll find that interesting too, because that is where we'll take a look at what notes we actually play in our solos and what notes we can and cannot play. And again, I'm going to show you the theory, right? But it's not to be memorized. It's just to show you the theory as to why some notes sound better than others when you play a solo. All right, so watch for that soon. Let me know in the comments if this is of any help to you. All right, and anything else you need to ask, send them off in the comments or see me live on Tuesdays. All right, so remember, the most important thing here is a little bit at a time, and the second most important thing is just play your guitar. See you later, guys.